Okay, it's looking good from my end.
Yep. Yeah, it's working. It's on Love Coach Academy. We're good.
Okay, and we are live. And yeah, so we'll just be everyone that is already in the Zoom room. Thank you so much. Just give us a few moments as we begin this beautiful satsang today. And we'll be with you shortly. Thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody. We're just waiting for the TwinRay to arrive and get settled. This is going to happen. And welcome everybody watching on Zoom. While we're waiting, it's always fun for people to put into the chat box where they're coming from. And I already see, of course, we've got people from all over the world tuning in. So let us know where you are, and the TwinRay will be here very shortly. I see that we have over 100 people in the Zoom room from Germany, from the Elfin Forest, from all over the United States. Very, very beautiful to have such a global peace tribe coming together to do satsang with our beloved TwinRay. Finland and Canada as well. Wow. There it is.
Is still indicative of the unitive of creation, but still honors the attainment of each and every person and each and every soul.
So I must confess that not much has changed from my first sort of true realization of God, God being love, essentially. And so nothing's really changed since childhood. That was very much my awareness that God is love and that we all are that love. There's no difference in that love. It's an unconditional love that is undivided, and nothing can be taken away from that. Nothing can be added to it. It's perfect. And we all really are that perfection. It's just a journey to remember that, realize that in every moment, and then be unchanged by that. So really nothing's much has changed in that. And
maybe just a deepening.
Maybe a deepening. Yeah. But the path that I took was the path of alchemy, learning about external alchemy and internal alchemy, about cultivation, meditation. And through that journey, many mystical and profound experiences that I won't go into, but it's really just been an opportunity to share my personal experience. And as we have come into our sacred marriage, is to share our personal experience of what this means for us and what this means universally. And we'll go into a bit of a template of what living heaven on earth means and how that can unfold for each one of you uniquely. But we just wanted to start by really just sharing a little bit of that story. If you want to share a little bit, Phil.
Well, can everyone hear us? Yes.
It's better without the microphone. It's better without.
Is it better without the microphones? Sorry, beloved. Oh, okay.
Okay. We'll be balancing it.
Balance it as best as possible. So the story of this vessel, which vessel we call bodies, it's a very miraculous story. It's a story of the incarnation starting through the body and there being what's called a death initiation, which was that this body went through 6 days and 6 nights of coma. And at that point, the original soul was escorted out and I was brought in. So from soul to spirit. And through that period of time, it took about 7 years for me to be able to anchor into this body. And that was not an easy process. It was not, you know, a switch turns on and a switch flips off. No, there was a re-education of the body itself to be able to hold this frequency, because it wasn't born into the frequency. And so through this 7-year period, started in 2010. So in 10-10-10 is when I came in originally. But again, it took 7 years for me to be able to anchor in, to release everything that was still being held, any karma, anything that was not of love, anything that was born outside of that sanctity. And again, it wasn't an easy process.
And then that 7 years later enters husband. And then we've been together ever since. And we actually haven't even spent a day apart. And we just fused our life because we're both here for service. That's really all it's about. And we're sure each one of you to some capacity feel that as well, to be of service. And what does service really mean? So we'll go into that. So heaven, as the topic of today's satsang, is living heaven on earth. So what is heaven? Heaven is your home. Heaven is your true nature. We look at the etymologic origins of heaven, we can see that it means either sky or heave, to heave up, to lift up, to ascend, be brought higher.
It also is etymologically related to havel, or the wheels of destiny, the wheels of life. Also, the chakras are also known as the havels. And what does that signify? It signifies that everything in life has its cycle. Every moment in life is cyclical. And those wheels of destiny and how they are lived through decide the destiny of the being.
And you integrate that concept of 7 heavens, those 7 filaments, or the 7 rings, or even the 7 planets, and how they interconnect to the 7 chakras of the body, or the churches, the 7 churches, as it was spoken in the book of Revelations. And so these wheels or these vortexes of life is your perception. And one of the pathways is to ascend your perception to absolute truth, to see that unwavering truth, the truth of yourself. And so the spiritual journey itself can be seen in answering three main questions. Who or what is God? What is all of this? What is the universe, the multiverse, all of creation? What is the meaning of this? What is this? And who are you? Who is self? Who are you really? What are you? And when you go deep enough and you excavate and you start looking into that, you realize that the same answer, it's not so much an answer that you can give through the mind, it's an answer that can happen through your direct realization. And that direct realization answers those three questions.
But one answer applies to all three questions.
Yeah, and what's the promise here? The promise is total fulfillment, is total utter fulfillment in your life. A happiness that doesn't leave you, a love that isn't taken away from you from moment to moment. The love that you are shines brightly into all your experience of life.
And that's because love, true love, cannot be taken from you. It cannot be added to you, and it cannot be taken from you. It is the essence of you, and there is nothing that can ever change that. Not what you've done, not what has been done to you, nothing ever can taint that love, ever.
Because it's your true nature.
Ever.
And so really there's only really one message here and one outcome. It's, what are you? It's that love. What is heaven? It's that love. But that love can be understood from different perspectives. It can be understood from the physical level as what you love doing, what you love experiencing, what brings goodness into your life, what you interact with. Be at the emotional level, at the relationship level, where there's that feeling of love to someone or something, or to yourself even. Love at the mental level could be having a deeper understanding and loving unconditionally with no judgment, just holding absolute compassion for yourself and all beings. And love at the spiritual level is that unconditional, undivided principle, that true nature. That is your being, that is the truth of this reality. And so returning to that love is really the game of life. Remembering yourself as love. And so how does one do this? Who already knows all this? Because everything we're sharing, it's not new. This is the knowledge of your own being. This is nothing that we can offer besides maybe articulate it in a new way. But there's generally, and what we teach is 4 different paths that are really the same path to the same essence of truth, of self, and of love. And one path of that is that devotion, that absolute devotion to devotion itself. It doesn't have to be a devotion to someone or something. It can, but it's not limited to that. It's devotion to devotion, because devotion creates a dissolution of the selfish tendencies of one's own narrative or one's conditioning. As we say, unconditional love unconditions the mind. So the more that you experience that, you're absorbed into the truth of your being, of that love, it unconditions the causal conditioning of family narratives, societal narratives, these different narratives that have created a picture of a perception that may be incomplete. So devotion opens up the heart and allows the mind to come into the heart so you can have a greater respect for yourself and for others. And so again, it's that devotion, which is the path of divine love in its expression. There's the path of divine service, where when one is in service to others selflessly, And you can make your life an offering, even if you have to do any tasks physically, you can make them an offering to something greater, an offering to your family. It can be an offering to spirits, it can be offering to the earth. But when you make your life an offering, what happens is that the selfish tendencies of what do I get from life change into what can I give? What can I give to others? And there's this beautiful biofeedback loop that just fills you up. There's this beautiful positive experience that happens.
The universe wants to support that.
Yes,
And
because
so it does.
yeah, because we're all in that one continual expression of the true reality being unity. And so when you are unifying with that field, with that spirit, with that presence, with that truth, and you're demonstrating that with your actions, with your words, there's a fulfillment that comes back. And so that level of service, that divine service, no matter how small, no matter how grand, it's all supporting the whole. And one of the greatest service that can be done is to self-excavate.
The inner excavation process.
To look deeply under the hood. To go deep into the conditioning, go deep into the perceptual separation of fear.
We call it light diving.
Yes, instead of shadow walking, we call it light diving.
We call it light diving.
Diving into the shadows to bring the light.
And taking your light, the parts of you that you love so much right now, just as you are. Those parts, you take those parts, you illuminate those parts even more, you love them even more, and then you take them with that strength and you go light diving. You take that light and you bring it down and you illuminate the treasure trove that is there. We call triggers your treasures. Why? Because this is where your jewels are. This is where the good stuff really is. This is where you get to discover who you really are. This is where you get to discover your gifts, your talents, your merits, your courage. Every one of you is tremendously courageous. Every one of you. Because what you've been through in your lives is meriting of that courage. And really, everybody in this world is extremely courageous for coming here to do this work.
Yeah, to come to the school of earth.
School of Earth is the hardest school of all the schools.
Yeah.
But it's the one that everyone wants to come to. Because you learn the fastest. Because even though, here, time seems like it just takes so long, and beloveds have been excavating for 40, 50, 60 years of their life and doing all this work. And yeah, maybe you feel, a little bit better. But for most people, things are very similar. They don't change all that much, but they can. They really can. And right now, time is quickening and everything is speeding up, and we're moving out of time and into pure consciousness. And that's where the magic gets to happen. That's when you get to really play with the energies and learn your own energy field and how to work with that in synchronicity, interfacing with everything and everyone else.
And that brings us to that third path, which is the path of alchemy, the path of meditation, the path of ascension, the path of the great mystery. That is where you do the inner work, your cultivation of more light, more energy to come into what's known as resonance, where you're resonating with the field, you're resonating with spirit, you're resonating with that divine presence that is the true nature, but you're in resonance of that. The friction, basically all suffering is resistance to life. So when you're in resistance, you create this suffering.
The rub.
And then a rub. There's some wobbles that you experience, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in your vocation. No matter what it is, when there's a rub, when you're rubbing against something, it's because you're resisting to what is. And so cultivation, or the path of inner alchemy, or the path of ascension or inscension, it's this going deep into the very fabric of the unconscious, going into the soul records. Where did you pick up these programs, these beliefs that were based in fear?
Whose are they really?
Whose are they really?
Where do they come from?
No.
They didn't originate with you as a young baby.
And so when you do that, you start liberating yourself, freeing yourself from these struggles. You don't, it's not like you're in this rubber band experience where you're feeling expanded, but then you contract, expand and contract. You fall in love and you fall out of love. Those experiences can be very much dissolved when you do the internal work. And this is where a lot of the divine sciences are as well, the esoteric sciences, where you understand the syncretic connection to all things.
We love the esoteric
Yes.
sciences.
Yes, that is one of our
Decoding everything. What does it really mean?
decoding scripture to understand or understands what it's relating to the micro version, your body vessel, and to the macro, the universal level, as above, so below. That's also a form of alchemy as well, understanding the inner cultivation process, how everything from the genetic level, the physical template, everything is interconnected. And it's a measurement. Your physical body is a measurement of the universe itself. And everything is a holographic fractal expression of everything else, because it's one field of consciousness. There isn't that we see objects and we ascribe subjects to those objects, but it's actually just all energy. And beyond energy, it's actually just all consciousness with one undivided awareness of all that is. So this path of meditation, inner cultivation, inner alchemy is about rising your frequency so the mind doesn't take you away from the truth of who you truly are, the love that's truly in your heart. And when you rise your frequency to a certain level, you don't experience that reality. You don't experience the shadow tendencies. You see the synchronicities, you listen, you're guided by that synchronicity. And life can be an effortless unfoldment.
And so why would one want to cultivate the alchemy that is available for you already naturally? Well, you can liken the body to bookshelves. The more you cultivate, the more bookshelves you can have, the more wisdom you can have. The more you cultivate, the larger your cup becomes, so that the ocean of knowledge, of love, and information can be held within it. A very small vessel that hasn't cultivated, if an ocean of knowledge or an ocean of information comes, it's going to crack, it's going to break. So cultivating is what's going to allow you to hold, to then transmit. And that's really what everyone wants. You want to be able to walk into a room, transmit that love, and enliven someone's life just by your presence alone. Cultivation is needed for that. That's how the inside of you starts to shift. That's how your cells start to vibrate at a faster frequency. That's how you become impermeable to viruses, to diseases, to anything like that. It's too fast.
Your vibrations just at a different rate. And so there's a science to this as well. And there's so many benefits that happen just being in a peaceful space, being in a peaceful state. You know, what is heaven on earth at the meta level? It's just world peace. It's experiencing peace, not pieces of life, but one continual peace. And so that's really what can happen when you stay true to the very essence of yourself. And what's interesting is in this time, we're in what's known as a Satya Yuga, where we're coming into a golden, or in a golden age. What marked this was certain astrological alignments that happened in 2020 and also back in 2012, 2017. There's these certain markers that have happened in the calendar of the sky that have been predisposing the frequency of this earth to a new grid, a new template. There's new earth grids that are establishing on this planet that are, who knows of ley lines? Has anyone heard the concept of ley lines? Yes. So ley lines, basically, there's a whole new grid structure that came onto this planet because our planet had dropped its electromagnetic field. The poles are shifting. They're not completely shifting, but they're partially shifting. What this all means is that it's opening up a bandwidth of energy that is known as plasma, or it can be called cosmic energy, and that converts into gamma wave energies into the crystalline core of the earth and creates these slow standing sound waves. Why is this important? Because whatever template, whatever energetic template is holding the space, that frequency creates form. So just as we have a meridian system, an endocrine system, chakras, we have all this internal biocircuitry, so does the body of earth. And so when there's certain alignments, as the cycles of life come into certain alignments, there's a quickening that's happening. There's a mass awakening that's happening. And right now, the collective is going through a mass purification. This is the time of prophecy. This is a time of great purification. And so each one is experiencing that internally, and some have already been on that path for many, many years. And some are embracing that or resisting that to whatever capacity they're able to in this modern time. And so cultivation is key. So when we come into certain what times known as harmony times, which are days before the equinoxes and solstices, is when all the grids, they come into balance and come into harmony. But that doesn't mean that everyone on the planet comes into harmony.
On the contrary.
Sometimes when someone's in dissonance, when someone's not living in alignments dharmically, sattvically, there can be this pressure cooker, so to speak, that can happen, where certain experiences, relationships, careers can just crumble because it's not supporting that higher evolution of what you really came here to do.
That's right. And through this resistance, the ego, it fears annihilation in the face of love. And when the grids harmonize, well, there's so much love and resonance there that anything that is in dissonance cannot maintain itself. It cannot sustain itself. And this is where polarization starts to happen. You have to be really aligned and deeply connected in your center, in your own center column of light, and in your own convictions of truth deep inside of you, in order to maintain that balance, in order to stay in that place so you don't wobble, so the polarization doesn't happen in little bits and pieces within the aspects of everyone. Because even though there's one consciousness and one person, you are made up of many aspects, of many belief systems, of what your earth parents have told you and what their parents have told them and what society has seeded inside. And so it's a purification process to get to the one truth that has never changed, can never change, and will never change.
And that's sort of the substrata that's always present. It's always there, this one presence, the one truth, that one field of love. Coherence is always there when you drop in. But what is dissonance is judgments or fears or traumas or beliefs or impressions, not liking what someone's wearing or what someone's any projection onto someone or something is a mirror of oneself. And that's really what this plane of existence is. It's a opportunity for polishing the mirror. So light can come through you and express unencumberedly. And you're not in resistance to life. Then therefore you're supported through all the synchronicities and unfoldments. But everyone has their own unique conditioning, which also allows them to have their own unique path. And that's beautiful. Everyone has their own unique pathway to themselves, to the truth. There's not one specific path for everyone. It's one way to find that truth for you, uniquely.
Eventually all paths will diverge into one.
Yeah, that one truth. And that truth, what is now we get to the fourth path is the divine truth. That's that one single truth that is the truth of your being, is the truth of the universe, the truth of God. And it's a truth that has to be realized. It's a truth that is unwavering. There's personal truths that come and go, that sometimes are experiential, they're circumstantial. There's truths that are dependent upon perception, different stages of your life. You can look back, oh, I had different belief systems. But there's a truth that transcends all of that. And that truth also transcends suffering. Because once you understand it, you realize that actually consciousness, awareness, spirit, love can never suffer. The mind may suffer. The mind may create a whole type of story about the suffering of your experience. But you're not your mind. You have a mind, but you're not bound to the mind. And that's the journey, is that you're not the contents of your mind. You're not the body. You have a body. You have emotions. You have the mind, but you're not that. You are the presence. You are that divine awareness that is aware of all of it. And that awareness is unchanging. And so you are the unchanging principle, the unchanging truth. And there actually is only that. There's no one else but that. No one's higher or lower to that. That's what unconditional love is. That unconditional expression of truth is you. But yet, sometimes one doesn't feel that way. And that's because of what we've shared earlier, the programming, the conditioning that has to be looked at. You have to bring it into your awareness to see it. Do I want to react to life in this way? Or do I choose to respond? There's a difference between reacting and responding. And if you're here to live heaven on earth, then which level are you responding from? You're responding from your heart, or you're responding from maybe something that you learned as a 4-year-old? Maybe that's something that you learned in your teenage years where life was hard. No one really accepted you
Or understood you.
or understood you. Maybe it was a hard breakup or a death that happened in the family, and that was really tough. And so sometimes that inner child comes into friction with what is, because it's scared. And those aspects that are scared, when you go into them, there's actually authentic power there. There's actually authentic truth there. When you really feel those emotions, you witness them. It sometimes can be hard. But when you are courageous enough to be completely honest with yourself, be completely transparent and completely authentic with yourself, you can allow the mind to do its thing, which it processes itself out. And then when you're aware of that, whatever process that unfolds, you realize that you're actually okay. You've always been okay.
And what's really beautiful, it's really, really beautiful, is that love allows. Love just allows. It's not trying to change anything. It's not trying to correct anything or make anything right. It's just an allowance. And so when those aspects of you that are fearful show up, they take the driver's seat of your life. They take the driver's seat of your feeling, of your senses, of your emotions. Because even though there's that beautiful love that you have inside of you, love doesn't overtake. Love allows that child to be fearful. Love allows that emotion to exist. And love is still there. Doesn't fade, doesn't go away. Perceivably, it might not be something that is easily accessible in that moment in time, but it's always there, allowing whatever needs to come up for you to come up. So when the small child of 4 years old or 7 years old or 8 years old or 12 years old takes the driver's seat of your life and starts to steer you in directions that perhaps aren't your preference as an adult, as a rational, knowing spiritual being, says, oh, no, I didn't mean to say that. I don't want to say that. Those aren't the words that love speaks. No, but love doesn't condemn either. And it doesn't judge. It allows. So how can you then take the driver's seat back gently and allow that aspect of you that needs just a little bit of extra holding at that moment to allow itself to be held? And that's through invitation. Love invites. It doesn't overtake. So it's not about willfulness or rejection or detachment. On the contrary, it's an invitation that says, come.
But what generally happens is that you become so detached from these negative pleasures, these negative experiences. You become detached from these aspects that are taking you out of the center of your heart. And so how does one progress through this process, and how does one master life? Because really, as a theme that we've created today, it's living heaven on earth. So heaven being a state of bliss, state of truth, but not a state that's coming or going, but a heaven that is always here, but it's actually inside you. So your great mission, great purpose, if you choose, is to manifest heaven from within you, that is you, into your reality, to make your life a sacred offering to something higher than the small self, to the true self, the most high, the all-loving one, surrendering the small will to a higher truth. How does one go about this? Well, the foundation is discernment. To get out of the first struggle, which is the shadow self, one's first reality, which is the victim reality, the victim mentality. The world is against me, not taking any responsibility for your life. The way to get out of that is the key of discernment. And how you can enact that is the path of divine love, having that devotion, and discerning what is love and what is fear. Fear is creating separation, is creating isolation. Love is creating, love is just that one undivided presence. So naturally it is unifying. Naturally you feel in resonance. Your heart feels in resonance. You feel connected to someone. You appreciate others. You respect others. It's just normal general virtues of your angelic nature, your true human nature. They come out of your heart. So discerning between when you're making choices from fear and making choices from love is that first baser level. That has to be a foundation. And then also discerning between what is temporal and what is eternal. The temporal experience, having this fleeting pleasure or this instant gratification that then wavers and leaves and is like water coming through the hands. You can't attach to it. You can't grasp it, because as soon as you do it, it evades you. So the path of discernment is really that path of what you choose. Do you choose love or do you choose fear? Really simple. Fear is very simply ignorance, ignoring truth, ignoring love. Or love is that invitation, is that acceptance, is that no resistance to what is. You're in your center, in your heart. You're just shining bright because that's your nature. You are divine. Divine is to shine. Your nature is divine, so you're just shining like the sun. The sun doesn't take a break from shining.
It doesn't ask either.
It doesn't ask. Am I shining too bright for you today?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe should I dim this light a little bit? No, it just shows up and shines. And in your own expression, unconditionally. So that's the first real level. That's the first choice to really make a authentic and truthful choice to walk a path of spirituality. If one is in that feeling that there's not taking responsibility for their life because they can't handle the responses of their life, then one is not truly walking a spiritual path. When you're walking a spiritual path, you no longer complain about others. You take full responsibility for your life. And you respond to life. You don't react from a default programming, from a conditioning, from a trauma that happened at 10 years old. You're aware. And you can fall from time to time, or we don't call it falling, we call it wobbling, little wobbles. And there's a trigger that comes up and then you might play out that. But then when you're courageous enough to acknowledge that and be truthful with that and be like, it's okay. Give yourself some more love, you apologize, and you forgive yourself. And then that's the key that completes that binding.
Mm-hmm.
The next level of that, and these aren't levels of, okay, you must do this, you must do this. It's more like steps on a staircase. Then not one of the steps are more important than the other.
You need all of them to get to your top.
Yeah, they're not,
especially a ladder.
Just like you plant a seed, and you can't rush that seed to become a tree and bear fruit. It takes its time, and this is a maturation process. But the second level is that natural detachment. Natural detachment isn't this carefree zone and aloofness of
everything is love and light.
Everything is love and light, all be well. Everything is love and light, but not at that excuse level. It's not an excuse, or all is love and light. It's not an excuse. It's a sacred truth, and it is your true being. But it doesn't excuse you from taking responsibilities in your life.
On the contrary,
it makes you more fortified. It allows you to have greater presence, greater power in the moment. So that detachment naturally happens from one thing and one thing alone. It's detaching to emotional investments. That's it. Doesn't mean you don't engage in life. Quite the contrary. You fully live life. You fully experience the joys of life, but you're not attached to the emotional outcome that comes from, oh, I'm doing this because I want happiness. I'm doing this because I want love. I'm doing this because I want some joy. No, you are love. You are joy. You are the source of happiness. Nothing that you do will ever give that to you. It may bring it out in you, but it will never give it to you because you already have it. You can't get something that you already have. And that discernment leads to a natural detachment because you already know you are that. You already feel it in your being. And because you feel it and because you know it with every cell of your being, therefore, no one can take that away from you. And so detachment, healthy detachment, is just detaching from these emotional investments that I want something from something or someone. You let that all go and you just shine. Love is not something that you take, it's something that you are, and then naturally you just give that. You're just radiating in your own glow.
It is not contingent upon what you get from it.
Yeah.
Or whether someone sees your love, or whether they reciprocate your love. That is not love.
And
that is the conditional presence of what you perceive love to be. But that is not.
And life happens. Sometimes, you feel like, yes, I've got all the love in the world and I'm feeling radiant. And then someone just says something and it just didn't feel nice at all, and your whole day feels like it's crumbling in, and you're just like, why did they do this to me? Oh, wait a second, I'm going to take responsibility, but why? And it sometimes can be like that, and that's
But then you give your power away in that exact moment.
exactly right. That's
That
where you're
one
giving your
moment
power
you
away.
said, okay, I take all my power.
Yeah. So
No.
when you take a moment and you just take a breath, before I can feel this, but if I react with this feeling right now, this emotional charge, I'm feeling charged, I'm feeling like I have a friction right now. If I respond, what you're saying is that you give permission for this feeling to then be expressed into your reality. And what's going to happen? You put it into your life, it's going to come straight back to you.
It's just going to perpetuate itself over and over and over again.
And so you're giving yourself permission that you're identifying yourself as that feeling. You're not a feeling. You be a witness to it. It doesn't mean don't be authentic and honest. You can be honest and be like, okay, I'm feeling this. But if you go deep enough, who's really feeling this? Oh, it's the mind again. Are you your mind? No. What are you? Love. Okay, I'll stay here at love. And then you sit with it, and then all of a sudden you forgive. You can forgive. Forgiveness isn't something that you do. It's just something that naturally happens when you understand that all of life is a reflection.
If you were to put yourself in the position of the soul review, and so during that moment that you're having an experience, if you were to say, if I was in soul review right now, and I was reviewing all of these moments, how would I feel if I was reviewing what I'm about to say? Because that's what happens. I can tell you from absolute experience that is what happens. You do review your life. You review moment by moment and piece by piece, and it happens very quickly. But this is where your consciousness, or the awareness that is your focus awareness that you've had in this live stream, comes to play. Because that focal point of information, then if you don't resolve it, it gets brought into your next breath. The first breath that you take in your next life and incarnation is the last breath and all of the information from your last life. So your last breath of your last life becomes your first breath of your next life. You have a period of time there where you can do a lot of resolution. But why wait? Do it now. You're alive now. The magic is happening now. You have your conscious, your unconscious, your subconscious. You have your energy field to play with. You have the interfacing of other people right here that are your mirrors right in front of you right now. This is where your power is. It's right now.
And so to then progress on the path, that it does take discipline. There is a steadfast that there is, whether meditation comes into your reality or certain practices. Those practices are helping entrain your mind and entrain your heart, entrain your life to be coherent. That's what discipline is. Discipline and joy go hand in hand, like the left hand washing the right hand. No one ever meditates and goes, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Or goes to a yoga class and does some yoga and goes, oh, I wish I didn't do yoga today. No one says that. Yeah, but that's because when you're disciplined enough to give that sacred practice, that's why it's practice. You're practicing, whether you start your day with a practice, meditation practice, a yoga practice, an energetic practice, you're practicing life mastery. And so when you have that, you then are refining your life, you're polishing, you're sculpting the mastery of your life to create not just a picture, but a masterpiece. And that can happen at the physical level, the emotional level, at the mental level, through your relationships, through your service, whatever that looks like. But that does take discipline. And discipline is really giving yourself the permission to be free, to be happy, to be joyful. You feel it takes work, but what you're really doing is removing obstacles. That's what discipline is doing. It's removing obstacles out of your way. And when you remove those obstacles, what happens as a result is the natural essence of who you truly are, which is happiness, joy, peace, love,
Kindness,
compassion, all the virtues, all the angels, that is you. And that's, you've removed the obstacles to allow that to come out and express into your life, into your relationships, into your service, whether it's your vocation or whatever you do.
Do it as service.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, whether you're paying your bills,
Yeah.
whether you're washing your dishes, it's an offering. It's an offering to the beloved on high. It's an offering to whatever that is going to give you that reciprocal current of energy again. It's an offering. When you pay your bills, what a blessing that you can. What a blessing that you can pay your bills. And in fact, give an intention. Thank you. May this return tenfold. And may that I be able to give this tenfold to the world. Energy and intention moves together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Every little thing that you do can be an offering to the divine, to the all-loving one, to God, to the presence. It doesn't matter what you call it.
That's why we call our
Beloved.
community beloveds, because it's reminding everyone to be love. Beloveds,
Always.
to be love. You are love. Be love, beloved. And you are loved. You are loved and you are love. And that's the beautiful dance. It's like, well, why do I give devotion if all of this is my true essence? Because it's not, who you truly are is not categorized as mind, body. When you give your devotion, when you give service freely from you, you're contributing to that truth that you are, that is beyond mind, body, that is spirit, that is that ever expressive nature. And what happens is that you become in resonance with your true nature. You become in resonance with the unified field, with spirits, with gods. If you don't like that word, then it really means grand original design, or generator, operator, and destruction, which is a threefold nature of reality. So it's not really a who, it's more that a what.
And that is in fact in every atom and every particle of this reality.
It's the Trinity that is creation. And it's so when you apply this in your life, this is when heaven is where, again, you've heaved up your life, you've brought your life up to a higher level. The circles, the spirals, the wheels of life are in resonance, are in harmony. You're not in struggle. There's dukkha or sukha, suffering. This is the more Buddhist traditions, but dukkha or sukha is that suffering or joy or pleasure. It's basically a rough ride or a smooth ride. It's really simple.
Dukkha is basically you are in the mud and you are trying to struggle your way out of it. And sukha is you have reached the light, just like a lotus.
Yeah. And we want to give space for any questions. We're going to complete our satsang for today on one reflection. And we said earlier, so you truly are love and light, but you can't use that as an excuse. All is love and lights, and just sort of detach and be aloof in life and give up responsibility. What we mean by all is love and light is that Love, light, and life, they're all the same. Love is that unconditional consciousness, that unconditional spirit, that one undivided awareness. That is your true nature. Light is the experience of all the photonic light that creates this illusion of form. Not an illusion that it doesn't exist, the illusion that it's not appearing what it really is.
Light allows you to see. It allows you to make sense of what you're looking at, to then create the perception that attaches to your associative field of awareness. Without light, you would never be able to make sense of what you're looking at.
So everything that can be perceived and conceived is light. But it's that light is not what it seems. And what we mean by that is if we take a look and we look around and see wooden pillars, we can see wooden railing here. It looks like railing, but actually it's just wood. The true reality of it is actually woods. The perception of it is railing or pillars. So that's why we think we give it an identification that it is something, but what it is in reality is actually one thing.
And it could also be perceived as bars, it could be perceived as panels, it could be perceived as many different things, but it is in fact
Just wood.
just wood.
Yeah. So that's where the illusion is. It's not what it seems, because what it is one substance, but what it seems is multiple things. So one reality, there's many different objects that are perceived, but it's actually just one light within one awareness. And so all of life is one consciousness, but it shows up in different expressions because they're different waveforms of how light creates this illusion of separation or solidity. Object solidity, but really everything is just that light. So everything is love, light, and life, and that is what your true being is. Your true being is love, your experience is of light, and all that is around you is life. All is one conscious expression.
And so living heaven on earth has to start here. It starts here in the heart. It starts here in the depths of your knowledge and your ability to say, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to truly walk a spiritual path. And a spiritual path means you give up the right to complain. As one who truly walks a spiritual path has incredible responsibility. You give up the right to complain. You give up the right to criticize. You give up the right to see life as anything but divine, and every one of your reflections thus becomes equally as divine, no matter how they're playing out their realities. So as heaven and earth begins inside, it begins with a yes to truly allow yourself to let your light shine out, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what it appears to be. And as this entire world starts to shift and change, and especially through this equinox period of September 21st and 22nd, especially, there's a new piece of the world soul that's coming in right now. And this is a vital piece of the world soul. Now, what does that mean? That does not mean that everyone will necessarily receive that, but it is there. It is in waiting for the frequency of that piece of the world soul to then match the frequency of the person in order to make that connection, to bring that resonance. So the universe is supporting this in every possible way. The multiverse is saying yes. Yes to you, yes to you, yes to every one of us right at this very moment. It is for you to act in alignment and accordance with that yes, to make that match. Because, for example, if you go to the top of a mountain, you go to the top of Mount Kailash, for example, any mountain, and you set an intention, and your intention, and you are breathing the air, and you are feeling this freedom, this expansiveness at that moment. And you have this beautiful inspiration. The in spirit comes to you. And you go, yes, I know what I wish to do with this. I know what I wish to do with the rest of my life. And I'm ready to send it out into the universe now. And you send it out like a boomerang. But if you fall down the mountain, if you come down the mountain, the universe cannot return that to you. You must remain in the place where you started the intention and received the inspiration in order to receive it back. This is part of the spiritual path. You stay there, and then life gets to bring back what you've asked for. The universe truly neither gives nor takes from you. All it does is show you you. It reveals where you are in that exact and precise moment. And all it ever wants to say is yes. But it's up to you. It's up to you to receive it back. And then take that and hone it and send it out again and transmit it. And this is where heaven and earth starts, here. And then it comes into community, so that you spend your life and your time with people that uphold you, uplift you, see you, feel you, experience all of that beauty, and live that way consistently every day. And this is what this world is going to move into. And so here we are today, at the opening of the haven, with you, beloveds, really honoring you, us. We're really honoring you for being here and for saying yes to the universe and saying that you want to live heaven on earth, and that you believe in a golden age where heaven on earth not only can exist, but does exist.
And it must exist, obviously, within you. And then gravitating to the ones that uphold that frequency, uphold that sacred intention, and then living that together, keeping each other accountable to be in alignment to that. And that's really the intention of this sacred space being the haven, is that every offering is like an opportunity to awaken to the true nature and the true beauty of yourself, to offer an opportunity for ceremony in life, to make your life a ceremony where life is not just taken for granted. It's forgotten how miraculous that life is. The fact that you are here now in this moment. The entire universe was created for you to experience this moment.
And the symphony, there's a symphony just for that right now, playing just for you.
Yeah. And so it's so sacred and special when you take the time just to drop into your hearts and really acknowledge the grand mystery, the grand miracle. And when you do, you can experience that heaven not as a destination, but as not just a destiny, but as your true self.
Coming home.
And it's coming home to that true self that each one of us, that's why we're here, to come home. And then what do we do when we're home? We celebrate. We come together and we celebrate.
And we play.
We play. Because this plane is not just Earth is not just a school, it's also a playground. When you go to school, there's also a playground there. So you get to do both. And so
play through purity and through virtue.
And so when you have that realization, you settle for nothing less. And that's, after discipline, the next level of it is that one ultimate desire, that all the lower desires are sublimated into one desire. That's that desire for freedom, that desire for truth, that desire for God, the desire for divine, that desire that ends all other desires, which is a paradox because it allows you to become desireless. It doesn't mean that you don't enjoy life. it means that you no longer
Abound.
are bound to the very lower programming of conditioning. You're no longer going against pleasure and pain back and forward. You transform that and transcend that to live a pure life. And so this is how one experiences heaven on earth, first within, to then co-create it. And our intention is to very much do that, to beautify all of life, to allow it to reflect the beauty of the soul, the beauty of spirits, the beauty of each one of you. Each one of you are beautiful. Yeah. We love you.
And we love you.
Mm.
And we thank you.
Thank you. We're not good at keeping time, so not quite sure how that is. But if there's any questions, we're more than happy to answer some questions. And do we have any microphones for beloveds? No. Okay, that is on the list of next time.
To-dos.
Beloved.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
I've had an experience of a ray, which is rainbow light, iridescent, like fire opal, and I'm feeling it so much here. It's so gorgeous, plus with all the little angel songs and things like that. And I feel that in myself sometimes, but I'm also, it's like, here's the spotlight. It's like, oh, like a little movie theater in one of my vertebrae of something I've been having a little reaction to, a family situation, and I've been carrying it. And I'm witnessing the innocence of getting pulled in the magnetics of, oh, he did that, like the victim thing.
Mm.
But now I'm feeling the density and intensity of this entire architecture in my field of this reaction that I've held. And so, but what my question is, so thank you for shining the light, or all of us together.
Yeah.
My question is it our rainbow light body? Is it the Divine Mother ministering waters of diamond, liquid light? What is that rainbow? Is it the seraphim? I mean, it's just so beautiful, and I love it so much.
That's such a beautiful question. And there's so much to explain through that one question. But
Perhaps it's just coherent.
let's go
Resonant.
deeper to share what the esoteric wisdom that's being shared through that. And there is different rays, different spectrums of light. And you have this bioenergetic field, which basically is the architectural framework that gives you the physical body. So all form is frequency. And the language of this universe is sound, vibration, and light. And that creates the geometric structures, those structures that then create what we perceive as form. So this is known as the aura. This is known as the bioenergetic field. And when it's cultivated with such resonance through the path of alchemy, inner alchemy or inner ascension, you can have this powerful, coherent vehicle, which is sometimes known as the Merkaba, sometimes known as the Taurus. And that field is also known as the rainbow body. And so at higher frequencies, that spectrum of color changes. And sometimes it turns into this immaculate rainbow golden light, where you experience this light. It's almost like a fire, but it doesn't burn you. And it's a light that purifies, but it's the light of spirit. It's a light of self. And sometimes it's a light that is generated so strongly within you that you experience that it changes the very framework of how you perceive yourself as physical. You start experiencing yourself as this true unbounded expression of light. So that's why we say your divine self, it's divine is to shine. It's the light of your divine self. Sometimes someone else can hold that light and then can create a resonance inside you to open up yourself to feel that light as well. That's called harmonic induction. That's the whole point of a teacher.
That's really the whole point of
is to be in a
master
coherent
teacher.
be in a coherent field, so you can come into resonance to realize the master within yourself, the mastery of self. So I hope that answers your question, beloved. But it is absolutely simply coherence and resonance. Beautiful. Any more questions, beloved? Oh, we've done a very good job.
We love it.
Is there any questions coming in from the live stream? We'll answer 2 more questions if it's here live or on the live stream, beloved.
Yes. Can you please discuss what's happening in the world that's so chaotic? I know it's the old order fighting for its life, but do you have another perspective?
Yes, the perceptual worlds that there's a grand purification that's taking place.
The bifurcation.
So what we understand is that as our solar system has moved into this 12,000 year cycle, that every 12,000 years, there's this photonic belt that connects to what we could consider the great central sun or the great attractor, whether you're a cosmologist or astrologist, they name it different things, but it's basically this photon belt of highly condensed plasma. And plasma, if we look around right now and we see this space, well, that's plasma. But what that plasma creates is then basically the sustaining field. But in space, there's different channels that are very condensed wavelengths of plasma. And so when something is brought into alignment, such as our Earth, we receive this very, very high frequency onto our planets. And it changes the way the architecture system, such as the nadis, such as the meridians, such as the endocrine system of the Earth. It
Nadis
changes.
are spiritual nerves.
Yeah, nadis in Eastern yogic philosophy is like the river of that holds all the data of your soul, basically. And the soul in this metaphor is like the whole compilation of every memory, every experience, every trauma, everything that you've ever experienced of every incarnation is what's encapsulated in the soul. So this time, there's a purification of the planets. And because of that, the frequency is changing. So there's a lot of old mentality, old programming, old belief systems, old karma, basically actions that are coming to the surface. So because astrology has a very powerful influence on our planet's cycle, Pluto is coming into what's called a return point, where the very man-made laws of this planet are coming through what's known as a rebirth. So we're experiencing this reset astrologically, cosmically, and societal structure. So everything as the structure of the old is sort of crumbling. So every condition and belief system that is counter to this time that we're moving towards is crumbling. So people that are attached to certain ways of perception, certain modes of behavior, and certain identifications that they have with themselves in their life, they're falling. And because
they're holding on for dear life.
And so that's where there's this chaos that's happening perceptually. But what's beyond all of that is that the knowledge that this world is always ever changing. It's always going to be changing. The nature of this world is to change. And so our role is to be steadfast, is to hold the center point, be the eye of the hurricane, and allow the whirlwind of life to take its form, but be unchanged to that. And be a pillar for others, because this is another thing, is that when you walk this beautiful path, is that you can actually offset this chaos. The more resonance that you're in, you're not just one person, just one small person in the sea of billions. No, when you're in resonance and when you start building out the light body, start building out the field, you start becoming an offset to thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people. And the more that we come in resonance together, I mean, the Maharishi effect proved this, that the more that we're in coherence together, we can offset the catastrophes on this planet. And there's so much extra support that's happening, not just on planet, but also off planets, that's helping this grand shift. So really, it's let it fall, let it break away. It wasn't true to begin with if it can change. Truth can never change. And so the structures may shift and change and rearrange, but the greater coherence to life is the antidote to all this chaos that is happening.
Hello. Thank you so much for creating Ethan and for everything today. So my question is, so I have a chronic illness. I have fibromyalgia, so that's what I've been diagnosed with. It was interesting to hear you discuss biofeedback, because when my doctors hooked me up to the biofeedback machine, they were stunned because they said that it was the strongest biofeedback that they've seen in like the past decade. And that I didn't understand at the time, what that meant. And so I was just wondering, can I heal myself, through what you're speaking of, love and, elevating myself and, through these ways, like, can I heal myself? Because I've worked, on my spirituality and with other people, and I've been told that, like my soul like struggles to be like in my body, and that, so from a medical sense, my doctors are really confused, and in the spiritual world, people are kind of confused too with my body, so I'm kind of just in this weird area. So
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Mhm.
You can heal
thank you.
because there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a matter of coherence. Realizing that you deserve to be here, wanting to be here. For you specifically, take a look at your 19-year-old. Take a look at what happened at 19 years old that created a separation. Can you feel that? Because I can feel your tears. They're very strong. And so what happened at that point is that there was a separation that occurred. Your cells began to listen to an information center that was being transmitted. So we can actually mitigate that completely, go back to that time frame, recreate the reality, teach your body how to listen to love, bring that love through. And there's 4 other lifetimes that are related to this as well. But the answer is yes, you can heal.
And that is one of the beautiful boons of walking a spiritual, authentic path, is that you open yourself up to the higher possibilities and the potentialities of healing body, mind, emotions, relationships, because the wholeness that you are, the truth of you who you truly are, is whole and complete and perfect, absolutely perfect. The body may take some time to work that one out, but the more that you walk that path of wholeness, the body, the mind, all the different levels of information, physical, emotional, mental, astral, all of those fields of information come into resonance and can change. There's nothing that can't be self-regenerated. You are a self-regenerating expression by principle. The very principle of consciousness itself is self-perpetuating, self-regenerative. And so aligning that and educating the body for that is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful possibility and potentiality. It's how deep you want to go. And generally, every dis-ease is an opportunity for greater awakening. That's really what it is.
Also take a look at 6 years old. 6 is connected to 19. So this is where the origination is coming from in this life. And your mantra is, I am safe in my body is my home.
The temple.
My temple.
Yeah.
My home.
and for everyone, just to understand that sometimes you can adopt certain memory patterns and certain belief systems at certain ages. So where you are now, you're like, oh, I don't believe that. But the unconscious mind doesn't understand the age difference. It doesn't understand time. Time just does not exist in the unconscious world, such as in the quantum world. It just doesn't exist. It's not a reality. So what happens is certain stimuli can happen in certain experiences of life, and certain ages can be triggered. And those ages can then create certain experiences that are physically or emotionally or mentally or all of it that can trigger onsets. So that's why it's considered karma, because it's certain actions of experience that are still held within the cellular structure and the energetic biocircuitry of your field and of your body. And so the deeper you go into this pathway, you can understand the framework that you've got, the templates, the organism, the body-mind organism that you're operating through. And you can tweak it, you can perfect it, you can align it, you can ascend it, and you can do many miraculous things.
And your spine. I'm working right on your spine at this very second. This energy starting to move through the spine.
How are you feeling, beloved?
Your spine is your main issue. Yeah.
Can't walk. Thank you.
Let's all just
We know.
take a moment just to send your love. What's your name, sweetheart?
Shelby, but my chosen name is Eve.
E, beautiful. So let's just send E, just love from your hearts, just love that you are. Love is healing, love is holding. And just allowing E to receive. Just taking a moment. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Good. Stunned. Thank you. And thank you everyone for
Thank you so much. I don't know. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Love is healing and love is whole. So when you re-educate the body and the minds and all the parts and pieces, that is a compilation of your expression. That love can create greater resonance and can create miracles. So believing in miracles because you are a miracle. Is there any, have time for one last question?
Beloved teacher.
Yes.
Other spiritual lineages and teachers speak of reaching a tipping point where a certain number of people whose consciousness are in a certain frequency are reached to move to the next level and shift the spiritual evolution and personal community planetary ascension. Is there such a number or a tipping point in this time?
It's when the darkness reaches critical mass of light, when the earth reaches the critical mass of light. That's what you're talking about.
Yes, thank you for that question, beloved DJ. And yes, it's known that there is a time where there's a critical mass, whether it's a number, or whether it's a level of resonance. When you change the perception that it's an individual count, it's not that. It's the amount of beings that are in resonance, that are holding that coherency within the field, within the heart. And then that can create an offset. We're in that now.
That's already happened.
We're in that cycle now. You are the ones that you've been waiting for, you know. And so we're here. You heard the call. You incarnated for this. This is the time. We're not just entering into a golden age. We're entering into a super golden age. What that means is that we're coming into a time where this specific opportunity for this entire planet to change the way it ascends as a collective. This has never happened before.
Nope,
it's
never.
never. We're in this new cycle. This is one of the most exciting time where all the prophecies are pointing to this moment, whether it's the First Nation prophecies from different tribal elders that have been holding that torch, whether it's prophecies from Rig Vedic, whether it's prophecies from Norse tradition. Doesn't matter if it's Eastern or Western prophecies, the book of Revelation speaks at this time. This is the time that we've all been waiting for. This is the time, its time is now. We just have to unify. We have to come together. We have to come together in greater numbers and put our differences aside and come together in the name of peace, in the name of love. And each one of us, our own individual lives, have to be a demonstration that we choose love, that we choose peace, that we choose harmony. And as we do that, and as we do it, it's not just doing it individually, and it's not even just doing it collectively, it's doing it at certain times, because there's certain time events where there's the grids are in complete unison with the certain alignments in the stars. And this is what the elders knew. And so when we come together at these certain times in certain locations, and we can create a web, a grid of light, a web of light, then that grid system around the planet is very much not only the nervous system, but it's also the collective mind. So you can change the entire collective mind and the frequency in which people perceive reality by coming to harmony. And this was demonstrated through many different civilizations where all of a sudden there's just no trace of them. They've just ascended and gone. They've had these big megalithic structures, but all of a sudden there's no more people. They've just changed the bandwidth in which they're frequating at. And so as we do that collectively, this is a mass ascension time. And so we are in that time. Every lineage and every teacher of that lineage is spoken about this, because this is a prophecy that hasn't just been spoken from one religion. It's been a prophecy that is encoded, hardwired into the very cycle of our Earth story. And so every different tradition has a different way of expressing it, maybe with a different language, but it's this pointing to the same thing. And we are in that cycle right now. That has happened. The gates are open. It's now. And so there's great inspiration that comes from that. When you recognize that you came here for this moment, we're changing the density in which this planet is oscillating at. We're changing, some call that dimension. So the dimension in which reality is experienced, this is what's known as the bifurcation of time, where there's a transformation from one plane of existence into another. And where we're going, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, but it's not a number. It's been spoken of 144,000, the light tribe of 144,000 to come together, the chosen ones. There's a deeper science to that, which is that your physical biology is made up of
72,000.
energetic architecture. You've got meridian systems and you have nadial systems. Nadis means rivers. They're basically like, if you were to look at a tree and it's the branches of a tree that expand around, you have these nadis around the body, and you have 72,000 of them in the feminine and 72,000 in the masculine. You put those two numbers together, it's 144,000. So the data of your physical biology is held. This is a little bit esoteric, and esoteric just means the hidden workings. So what's hidden behind the scene, what's hidden behind the physical, that 144,000 riverets of nadis, or little spiritual nerves, they hold all the data of all the incarnations that your soul has ever experienced. Now, what happens when you ascend your frequency, these nadis, or these bandwidths of information, all of the karma that is recorded, energy wants to complete itself, so that it wants to circulate through your body in a perfect toroidal field. But when you don't, you create this energetic repulsion, which creates the experience. You're magnetizing or attracting an experience. You have a karmic experience because you hold that energy in you. So when you complete those lessons, these nadis come into full circulation. You open up the full toroidal flow of your body. What that means is 144 is the harmonic of light. So when you teach your body and your energetic architecture and field how to resonate at the harmonic of light, you experience what's known as 144,000 grid arcs per second, which is the way that this planet experiences light and arcs that light into existence. So you then become an expression of light. All the information, all the data, the genetic codex is freed. And so you become an embodiment of what's known as the 144,000 chosen ones, the ones that are saved, because all the data in your body is complete, in the sense that you are no longer bound to that karma. You're no longer bound to that genetic information. You are freed from that. So this is a little bit esoteric. So it's there if one is receptive to that, but that is the internal hardwiring of the energetic structure of the body. So when enough beings come into full resonance with the energetic field, you no longer become one person. You become this field of information that's offsetting hundreds and thousands and millions of people. So that's why numbers don't matter at this stage. When you come into resonance, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people could offset the entire chaos of this world.
One genetically liberated human being, just one, can offset minimum hundreds of millions of people easily.
And genetic liberation is a concept of freeing the genetic data. So you no longer hold the karma of your ancestors. You've freed it backwards in time for the ancestors and forwards in time. So you're freeing that genetic information that has been mutated over the course of different lifetimes. And so you free that. There's no longer any karma. You're karmically free. And so every part of your journey of self-excavation, alleviating any friction, removing anything from your mind, your body, your emotions, is supporting that higher coherence to the field to help ascend all of humanity together. It's the noblest thing you can do, is to do the inner work. And so the prophecy is real. You are the prophecy. Each one of you are part of the prophecy. It's not about one being coming back. It's about a collective expression of that Christic consciousness, that one true consciousness that each one of you are truly, to support this ascension cycle that we're in, this great awakening that we're in, this great purification. So I hope that answers your question, beloved. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. It's been a joy. Blessed be, for blessed you are.
Blessed, blessed be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Who would like us to do this more regularly? Okay. Okay, then we shall. We love this intimate setting, by the way. It's really, really beautiful
really precious.
to be together. And yeah, it's really special. You all touched us very, very deeply today. So thank you. Mwah.
I'll take that lead. Lead all the way.
Yeah. Have a beautiful, blessed day. God bless.
All right.